This week I'm visiting Ira and her family and having a relaxing weekend in Canada. I'm having an amazing time, but it's nothing vlog worthy. So I figured it's time for episode 3 of Artem's Past Adventures. Nope, that was stupid. Bye, Alicia.
Talk better.
So I figured it's time for episode 3 of Artem's Past Adventures. So let's travel back to 2016. My summer concluded with a trip to the Richmond night market, which I made a video about. And right after that, we went to PAX, which I made a video about as well. Weirdly enough, I released those videos exactly 2 years after they were recorded. And this video is no exception. Exactly 2 years ago, right after PAX, I went on a month-long trip to Ukraine, my birthplace. The motherland. Now I have a lot more photos of this trip than I do video footage, but I'll try to use those sparingly and only use them when I'm trying to fill in some of the missing gaps in the story. When I went back to Ukraine a year after this, in 2017, I recorded a lot more footage. So that video is going to be a lot more detailed, it's going to show you things a lot more in depth, but this is going to be more of an introduction to my life in Ukraine, my relatively unknown life in Ukraine. Alright, so let's go! To catch you all up, let's go back for just one moment. I was originally born in Ukraine, right after the Soviet Union fell apart. It was a nation trying to get back up on its feet. But that didn't matter to me, I was just a baby. I grew up with my aunt, uncle, cousin, grandma, grandpa, and my mom and dad. And I had an amazing childhood, surrounded by love and fun and friends and family. As I grew up, things changed, as they do. My aunt and uncle moved away to their own place. Dad left to another country to make money and decided to stay there. And I moved to the States, only visiting my home once in a while. I haven't gone to Ukraine for 3 years before this trip, so obviously I was excited. Going from the United States West Coast all the way to Ukraine is a long trip. It usually takes around 6 hours to fly across the states on one plane, then around 9 on another to fly over the ocean, and then you usually have to take a third plane to fly into Ukraine. And until recently, there was no airport in the city I grew up in, Kherson, or Kherson, so we had to be picked up in another city and drive for a few more hours after the 16 hours of traveling. But while it might not be worth it to most, it was more than worth it to me. And I definitely realized this as soon as I walked into the front yard I grew up in and saw my grandma and grandpa waiting for us. After taking a 14-hour nap, I opened my eyes the next day and couldn't believe where I was. I was home! This is where I spent the first 13 years of my life. I had breakfast like I used to, wandered around the yard like I used to, spent time with my family like I used to. Everything was right with the world. My mom and I spent a lot of time helping my grandparents out. They're old after all. We pickled some veggies for the winter, spent some time cleaning up the yard, running to all kinds of stores. But in between all that, I got to have fun and go on a couple of adventures. First of which was a trip to the beach with my aunt. Kherson is a port city located in Ukraine's biggest river, Dnipro. So we have a lot of beaches there. And a public beach in Ukraine is honestly a lot like most other beaches, but probably with a little more garbage and a lot more cigarette butts mixed in with the sand. Listen, pretty much everybody smokes in Ukraine. It's pretty bad. Sad times. But it was still fun. And after the beach, we went to an amazing restaurant. And I had shashlik, which we call shish kebab over here. And oh my gosh, I wish you guys could have tried it. The rest of the trip we spent throwing a neighbor a little party. I got to see my childhood friends quite a few times. We played pool, Monopoly, drank a ton of beer, went to a concert. It was awesome. I also got to hang out with my aunt a lot. We went to all kinds of restaurants, went to Ukrainian market, and I even got to experience something I have never done before. I got to teach a class at a university. My aunt is an English teacher at the university in my city, and she asked me to talk to her students and teach one of her lessons. I loved it so much that one time turned into 2, and then into 3. About a week after our beach trip, we celebrated my grandma's birthday. This was an amazing, nostalgic experience. Back in the day, my family threw a lot of parties in the living room, and I always loved the festive atmosphere as a kid. I'd eat the many delicious Ukrainian dishes at the table with all the adults, and then most of the time I got to play with the kids that the guests would always bring, most of whom became my very close friends over the years. Or when I was very little, I would climb under the table and poke people's legs. I don't know, I was a kid. Anyway, this reminded me of those times. The next day, it just so happened to be the city's birthday. It's 240 years old now, so I guess it was turning 238 that year. Anyway, it was an awesome celebration in the park. There was a ton of little bands and choirs and people performing, lots of vendors selling handmade goods, and tons of people out and about with kids and families and friends, all having an awesome time and enjoying the festivities. Before I knew it, the end of the trip was getting close. It felt like I got to do so much, yet absolutely nothing at the same time. In the final days, I got to spend a few more days with my amazing grandparents. Got to walk around the waterfront with my aunt and climb into the attic. And went through a whole bunch of ancient, dusty books for some reason. And that actually turned out to be an awesome time. Soon after, we packed our bags and left it all behind once again. This time, it wasn't so bad though, because we were headed to the beautiful city of Prague, the capital city of the Czech Republic. But that's a story for the next time. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. If you liked it, then let me know by hitting the thumbs up button below. And if you really liked it and would like to see more stories from me, then hit that subscribe button. And join the notification squad by hitting the bell right next to it. That way you'll know when my video is up the moment I publish it, which I do every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific. Thanks once again for watching, and I'll see you next week, right here on my channel. Peace!